Hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning in with me, William Wallace, and my show, William Wallace for America. And today I'm with State Senator Jay Morris, District 35. I'm going to bring him on here to talk about his legislation today, but I want you to notice he loves having his artwork of Louisiana up here, so we have a little bit more headroom so you can catch that artwork, but I want to bring him on. Senator, thank you so much for coming on today. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Good to be here.
Well, talk to us a little bit about your district. Where is your district from? I know you're District 35, but what's the boundaries of your district?
Well, I live in Ouachita Parish, and my office is in West Monroe, and it extends from Ouachita Parish over into Lincoln Parish and Ruston, and then it heads south through Jackson Parish, parts of Jackson Parish, parts of Wynn Parish, Grant, and the northern tip of Rapides Parish. So parts of 6 parishes are in the district.
Yeah, I guess that's about average. I hear a lot of these districts have tons of parishes in them.
Unless you're in Greater Baton Rouge or Orleans Parish where it's really urban, the districts are pretty large as a general rule.
What makes up your district? What's the economics? What kind of makes up your district?
It's diverse. Of course, the agriculture industry is big in my district, particularly pulp and paper business, logging. There are a lot of trees in my district, but I also have 2 college towns. Monroe has ULM, and Ruston has Louisiana Tech, and so there's a lot of college supporters in my area, and then CenturyLink is the largest private employer in my district. It's actually in an adjacent district, but a lot of the workers for CenturyLink are now known as Lumen, which is a Fortune 100 company based in Monroe. So we have quite a variety of agriculture, technical workers, and a lot of loggers.
Yeah,
a lot of loggers.
And 2 universities. That's got most districts only have 1 university. You got 2.
Right. Right.
And that's pretty good then. So what is your background? You mentioned your office. I guess you were referring to your Senate office, but what is your background? Because a lot of people don't realize that even a state senator, it's supposed to be a part-time job, but it ends up being a full-time job. But what's your regular background?
Right. Well, I'm a lawyer by education. And I've got a business in which we do work for the mortgage servicing industry statewide in 2 states, Louisiana and Mississippi. I'm licensed in Mississippi as well, and we have an office in the Jackson area in Ridgeland. And so we provide whatever services the mortgage industry wants, legal and some non-legal, like proof of claim processing, that kind of thing. And up until the pandemic, we had quite a sizable company, but we've had to scale back. But that's part of being in business.
So it's I guess the pandemic, I didn't realize that has affected not only your mortgage business, but your business too as a result. But that's something you would think that would be kind of shielded by from the pandemic.
It happens to not be shielded by it, and it's we've had to scale down the business, but it'll come back. I've been around the block. I went through Katrina back in 2005, and we kind of shut down for about a year post Katrina, and I had to lay off in excess of 100 people. So we've seen the ups and downs. So you just got to do the best you can, like a lot of people around the state have had to do. Tragically.
Well, today's the first day of the session, technically.
Right.
What's coming up in this session that concerns you the most, or that you'd like to talk about a little bit?
Well, this is a fiscal session, so there are a lot of tax reform items on the agenda, and I am in support of a lot of the ideas, and there's some senators and House members that are working really hard to try to do the right thing. There's always a chance that special interests can get their little goodies in the tax code, and so I'll be keeping an eye on that. I served in the House for 8 years before I moved to the Senate, and I was on the Ways and Means Committee, and so I learned some of the ropes and how things work, and I'm all for lowering rates and broadening the base, having a low flat taxes where nobody gets gouged, but people don't get a free ride either, and companies don't get a free ride for no reason.
More people are talking about that broaden the base, and I like that. But I wanted to let the viewers know we're going to get to in just a second one of your constitutional carry bill, and I wanted to point that out. I meant to bring that in the beginning, but before we talk about that, how bad is the state doing fiscally?
Well, it's a little hard to say because the pandemic is starting to ebb, and people are getting back to work, and some of the smaller businesses that were sadly horribly affected by it are some of them are starting to show a little signs of life, but we've got all this federal money coming in that is kind of masking the problem. So we're not going to really know for a year or two how we're doing. But the federal money is really going to be a blessing.
There's a strong
for the state fisc anyway. I mean, whether it's Trump's bill was a good or bad idea, or Biden's bill was a good or bad idea, as stewards of the state fisc, I feel like we need to take advantage of it and try to fill the holes appropriately.
I like how you say you'll be watching out for the money, because a lot of people want to know that whether you're watching the money or whether you're watching the money, how it's used efficiently,
right.
Or are you watching it go out the door? And it sounds to me like you're going to watch how it's used.
Well, both. I mean, and how we structure things. Whether the average taxpayer does not have a lobbyist, but yet there are lobbyists circling around the tax writing committees. Ways and Means and Rev and Fisc. And why would that be? They're not hired by the average citizen, and that's kind of pride myself on looking out for the average citizen, because whenever an incentive, whether it's a true incentive or just a gift or a special exemption for this group or that group, or kind of the way the tax laws are written, a hidden exemption where people get out of or large companies or medium-sized companies get out of paying taxes, that increases the burden on the average taxpayer. And I just want to make sure if we do provide incentives or exemptions that they're fair and across the board.
And the average taxpayer is not bearing the burden of some lobbyist idea to work something.
Every time somebody gets a free ride, that puts pressure on everybody else to pay more.
And so you're watching out for that, and you're trying to broaden the base so more people are paying less.
Right, exactly.
Okay. I like hearing that.
Right.
I like hearing that you're kind of watching out for it. So what are some of your ideas to fix our problems? But before you answer that, I meant to ask you, what committees are you on?
I'm on the Commerce Committee. I'm on the Joint Capital Outlay Committee. I'm on agriculture, which is really important for my district, and that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are your ideas to fix our fiscal problems in our state? And then we're going to talk about your constitutional carry bill.
Okay. Well, we have to have a balanced budget in our state. We can't create money out of thin air like the federal government, and we can't borrow in excess of what our revenues are. So we have to have a balanced budget. But it's important to me that we have a balanced budget, not through any kind of accounting tricks, which in the past sometimes that could be an issue, because when you do that, it comes back to haunt you later when the little accounting tricks aren't available. So I think it's important to have a strong economic development presence in the state. We need to give the Louisiana Department of Economic Development the tools it needs, but not give away the store. Mm-hmm. Education is important for economic development. It's probably higher on the list than low taxes, and then a fair tax system. And then we got to watch what we spend. I'm really hesitant to create any new government programs. There's always a well-meaning behind them as a general rule, and it sounds good, but if you create a new bureaucracy through a new program, it never shrinks, and it never goes away. You can give, but you can't take away. So you create a new department to do something. It's just another thing that has to be funded every year. So I will be very cautious and taking a hard look at any attempts to expand our state spending.
I like hearing that because I've talked about this in a lot of my other videos and interviews with other legislators, that with this new money that's coming in, it's what you're referring to, this new money from the government for the for COVID relief. There's talk about how it's going to be used. Is it going to be used to grow government, or is it going to be used for one-time expenses? So from what I'm hearing from you is you're going to be looking to use it for one-time expenses and not to grow government.
Right. I mean, if you plow it into an unsustainable where we have to repeat it year after year, then that can cause an issue down the road. I will say the governor has, and I agree with him. He is hopeful to replenish the unemployment insurance trust fund, which has been depleted a year and 2 months ago, maybe a year and 3 months ago. The unemployment insurance trust fund had $1.3 billion in it. That's the fund from which we pay unemployment benefits to people. Now it has zero.
Wow.
In fact, it has a negative balance because we've borrowed $150 million to pay workers who had lost their job through the benefit that we had to borrow from the federal government. And the governor does want to use some of the COVID money from the feds to replenish that fund, at least put a good healthy down payment, and the number I've heard is $750 million, which would be a good way toward making that fund solvent. If it's not made solvent, then automatic insolvency taxes will be assessed on every business in the state, and they'll be pretty steep, and they're automatic by law. Now, we have suspended the effect of that law. Last year, we passed a resolution by Senator Reese, I'm pretty sure it was, and we may have to suspend that insolvency tax again but hopefully we'll be able to plug that hole, because eventually either we got to fill it with the federal money, or our businesses, and particularly our small businesses, will be hit really hard by those automatic taxes.
See, this is the first time anybody's mentioned this to me.
Well,
so I've always, in these videos, it's interesting because I come here to talk to you about constitutional carry, but I wanted to get you a chance to introduce you to the public. But then you give me these nuggets, and these are good nuggets for people to know. For small business owners, you're telling me if we don't replenish the unemployment fund, small business owners are going to get tagged or taxed with an automatic tax.
Right,
That's not anything that you guys are putting in place right now. It's automatic. Is it our Constitution, I guess?
It's statutory.
It's statutory.
Right.
So it's going to be automatically tagged onto a business, and they're going to be footing the bill for this money if this fund is not replenished with this COVID money.
Right, exactly. I mean, businesses always pay into it. I pay into it for every employee I have, but it's reasonable in amount, and then the state does a pretty good job of paying claims that are legitimate. But if something is not legitimate, the administrative law judges are pretty good about keeping it under control, and it's been very fiscally sound. And it had $1.3 billion in it, but we had the entire workforce laid off of the entire state, nearly.
Well, what's amazing that in Louisiana we had a fund that has a surplus of over $1 billion.
It wasn't necessarily a surplus, but it was. It was
just funded.
Right. Well, it was healthy. It was a healthy fund.
A healthy fund. What is a healthy fund that wasn't being sought after by somebody to use it to balance a budget or anything like that?
No, it can't be robbed. So the Workforce Commission has done a good job in that respect.
So let's hope that fund gets replenished in a way that the businesses don't get taxed.
Exactly.
So let's talk about your legislation. Let's leave constitutional carry for last. What are your main bills that you're trying to get out in this session? And then we'll do constitutional carry last, and then let everybody a chance to learn about that.
Well, this is a fiscal session, and so you're limited in the number of bills you can have. You only have a few non-fiscal bills. I do have one to provide a tax exemption. We currently have a tax exemption from local government for people who have to have expensive cancer drugs intravenously, and I'm looking to expand that exemption. It's not for state; it's a local. Prescription drugs are automatically, under our Constitution, exempt from sales taxes by the state, but they're not automatically exempt by local government, which is usually about half to 60% of your sales tax bill. And we've exempted cancer, but there are a number of other diseases that have really expensive intravenous drugs where you go to an infusion center, and there's a lot of difficulty in the insurance paying for those taxes and how it's coded, and patients can end up with a bill that they didn't know they were going to have, or the pharmacy or the infusion center absorbs it. It's been kind of an issue, so I've got a bill to expand that to the major infusion therapy type diseases, and then I've got a bill to do some amendments to the partitions in the civil code. It's a little bit mundane, lawyerly like stuff. I've got a civil service reform bill. I passed a landmark civil service reform bill last year that will allow police chiefs around the state to hire people within a month. The civil service process that was in place before that was ridiculous. It would take 6 or 8 months for a police chief to try to get someone hired before they could get a new officer hired. The sheriff's department, which is not under civil service, could hire the person in the interim, and so our police chiefs were having enormous difficulty. Now it can be done in 30 days. And so it's a companion bill to help that process along. The law needs tweaking a little bit, and that's the gist of. I think I have one more. No, well, I got the concealed carry bill, so that's 4.
You have concealed carry or constitutional carry?
Constitutional carry.
Well, let's talk about the constitutional carry bill. That's what we came here for to start with, but I wanted to get a chance to people to know you. So what made you decide to put this bill forward?
Well, people have been trying it on and off for a few years, and a lot of our states that are our neighbors, although not Texas yet, but a lot of states are passing a version of constitutional carry, and the bill was attempted last year and didn't get anywhere, and I just thought it's very important to me, it's important to my people in my district. The Second Amendment is important not only in and of itself, but for the protections of the First Amendment. Some of the protections of the First Amendment might not be available if we didn't have the Second Amendment.
I'm hearing a little patriotism coming out.
Yeah. I am a patriot. I feel like I am. Anyway, so I filed Senate Bill 118, and I'm hopeful that it will get through.
Well, I actually let the people know there's actually 3 constitutional carry bills. I've already interviewed about one. This is my second one. I'm going after the third one next.
Right.
So there's 3 constitutional carry bills out there. So I want to explain some differences so people can understand it's not just one. There's 3 coming through.
Right,
so we might have a shot.
Right.
So let me ask you that question. Do you think that maybe was that one of your idea to file one, even though there's already one? Was your idea because what was your reason for filing a second one?
Well, Representative McCormick filed one last year, and he filed it again this year, and it didn't get far last year. And I thought, well, if his gets through the House, I'm happy to help it over in the Senate get through the Senate process. But what if it doesn't? What if the same thing happens this year that happened last year with his bill, which did not make it through the process for whatever reason? And I thought it wouldn't hurt to have a companion bill in the Senate. It's a slightly different, as you mentioned, but and then another Representative Fontenot, I believe, filed a third bill after I filed mine, and I think there are a few slight changes with his as well. But anyway.
Well, let's talk about some of the differences that make yours different from Danny McCormick's. So when I
Sure.
meet with Representative Fontenot, I'll ask him the same
Sure.
kind of questions. Like I noticed that your bill is carry for 21 and not 18. What's the reasoning for that?
Well, and one of the reasons is I think it might have a better chance of passing with the 20. I don't have any opposition to age 18. Kids that are 18 can vote. They can go to war. They can't drink
Right.
in a bar, but they, but but I thought that, if you raise the age a little bit, that'll allay a few people's concerns.
Okay.
And I thought having a good bill would be better than having no bill at all. Trying to have a perfect bill, you might not make it through the process.
And you can always, I guess, amend it later?
Yeah.
Is that kind of the objective?
and
not that we're going to tell any secrets or
you
not.
can amend it during the process, and you can change you can tweak it in future sessions if you want to.
So another one that a lot of people don't know about, and as I've gotten into this and I've read more and more about it and comparing the two side by side, there's a duty to inform.
Right.
On the
if
bill.
If a police officer approaches you under my bill,
now, is that while you've been stopped, or is that at any time? If you're
a
police officer in the area?
No, you don't have to run up to a police officer. But if he approaches you to ask you questions because it's a situation, that there's, you could invent a whole host of things. If there's an issue in the street and he comes to ask you questions, you're just supposed to say, "Officer, by the way, I'm carrying a weapon," And
now, under the concealed carry laws right now, that's the law. If you're,
right,
if you're in a
it's already the law if you have a
permit.
permit.
If you have a permit, you have to say that.
Yeah,
what was your reasoning for doing that? Would be
well, hopefully the law enforcement community won't be, trying to work against my bill.
Okay,
that's partly it, and it's common sense to do that anyway.
Right. Okay.
I think most law-abiding citizens would do it, and that's the thing about this. This is a bill for law-abiding citizens. It's not for people who are going to do something crazy,
right.
or because those people can do it anyway. If they're willing to break the law to do whatever, either shoot somebody inappropriately or wave a gun at somebody, or or just carry a concealed weapon.
Right.
Without a permit, they're lawbreakers already. So, why make the average citizen who's not a lawbreaker have to go through the government red tape to exercise their constitutional rights? And we already have open carry in this state. So, if somebody can wear a gun on a holster and it's perfectly legal, if he throws on a coat, he's now breaking the law,
yeah.
Unless my bill passes or unless he's got a permit. And this, by the way, my bill does not do away with the permit process. If you want to, you can still get a permit, because a lot of people will want to do that for purposes of reciprocity with other states.
Yeah, when they travel to states, right.
Yeah, so you can still get the permit if you want. You can get the permit at age 18 if you want. But you don't have to,
right,
if you're 21 or older, under my bill as currently written.
Okay. That's and then the last piece of the thing that I noticed, and then after that I'll let you talk about if there's anything different, is that the alcohol limit is lower with your bill. I think on Danny McCormick's bill it's 0.08, and yours is 0.05.
It's somewhat arbitrary. I mean, I think that's what the DUI laws are. I think.
Well, as of right now, if you have a concealed carry permit, your alcohol limit is I think in half, of what you're allowed to consume. Mm-hmm. So are you kind of piggybacking off of the concealed carry law right now, or is there any other reason why you?
It's somewhat arbitrary, just trying to be consistent because it's already in place. But I'm open to amending it. But I think it's a good protection to have in there, and something to just people think about it. If you have a few cocktails, best not, be driving or, carrying your weapon around, because people might, alcohol leads to a lot of bad things.
Right.
You know, as you know, I mean, if you talk to any sheriff or law enforcement official, 9 out of 10 of their calls in the evening after a certain period of time, alcohol and drugs.
Alcohol related or drugs related.
Yeah, or they're involved somehow, either making a situation worse or causing it.
So what other difference or similarity about your bill, constitutional carry, that you want to talk about or tell anybody, inform anybody about?
Well, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. I just believe that if you're a law-abiding citizen and you're not convicted of a crime of violence or a felony, and you want to carry a weapon to protect yourselves, your family, or your property, you shouldn't have to go through the government to ask permission, because it is a constitutional right. It wasn't put in there for no reason. And so I think this is something that the people of my district really want to see, and I think it's the right thing to do, and I think it's the right time to do it. Our country is, and depending on where you are, it can be very dangerous in some places.
Oh, yeah.
And people want to protect their families, and they should have the right to do so.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Was there anything else that you want to point out? Any other bills in this next session? Well, my last question for you that we wanted to take notice of.
Well, you're a good reporter, so you're asking the catch-all in case I have something else. But no, I'm just going to hopefully get my constitutional carry bill all the way through the process and on the governor's desk. If not mine, perhaps Representative McCormick's or Representative Fontenot's, and hopefully Governor Edwards will sign it. And I have the other bills I mentioned I'll be trying to get through, but I'll be keeping an eye on all the fiscal reforms. We could talk about those for a long time.
Yeah.
But I'm in agreement with the concept of lowering rates and reducing exemptions and making sure our system of taxation is flat and fair, and there's some other reforms in place for the inventory tax and maybe even the franchise tax that I think business will like, as long as it's done in a fair manner. Mm-hmm. I'm very supportive of those.
Well, it sounds to me like not only from this statement about watch out for the franchise tax, but also in the prior statement when you're talking about the unemployment insurance tax about to kick in, that you're really looking out for small businesses.
Absolutely.
And our constitutional rights.
Absolutely. My duty as a senator, state senator, is to look out for the people of the state of Louisiana and my district. And, that's my primary concern. And I always have to bring myself back to what would the average citizen in my district prefer to do and have. And that's what I try to fight for.
I like that. Senator Jay Morris,
thank you,
District 35, I thank you very much. I
appreciate
it. Everybody else, please share the video. Let everybody know about constitutional carry here in Louisiana, and it's coming up. Thank you all very much, and have a great day.
Absolutely.
Hang on one second.